So Xiaomi just had their Su7 tech event. It wasn't exactly a launch event, but Lei Jun was there to talk about all the different tech that goes inside the car, and there's some pretty amazing stuff worth talking about, and you guys can make a comparison, and at the end of the video I'll share my opinion about how that stacks up with NIO. All right, so first of all, they talked about how there's new motors. All right, of course, the new motors that they've developed, permanent magnet motors. The industry has been competing with the RPM stats. That's what he said, and they're launching two different motors. They're calling it V6 and V6S, making it very easy to remember, and the motor goes up to 21,000 RPM. So that's 1,000 RPM higher than the Tesla Model S Plaid. The first one is 299 horsepower at 400 volt, and the other one is 374 horsepower at 800 volt with 500 newton meters of torque. And they're capable of 275 kilowatt of power, and they achieved the power to weight ratio of 6.78 kilowatts per kilogram. And then they also have a new motor coming very soon, VAS, coming in 2025 with up to 27,200 RPM. And this is achieved by having dual channel oil cooled, and that's able to lower temperature by 30 degrees. And they also talked about the silicon carbide that they're using inside their inverter, 99.85% efficiency and 578 horsepower, which is absolutely amazing. And then they also talked about an experimental hyper engine that goes up to 35,000 RPM, but that is still quite a few years from production. And they showcased a very cool video about how that looks like. And their entire car is going to be on the 800 volt platform, but in actuality it's 871 volts, which is pretty amazing. And the CTB structural battery pack is going to be used for extra rigidity, and there's going to be two battery packs available, 150 kilowatt hours for 1200 kilometer plus of CLTC range, and 132 kilowatt hours for 1000 kilometers plus CLTC range. And these new battery packs, he went into very detail about them. 77.8% space utilization, even at 55 degrees centigrade. It will still operate normally, and liquid cooling, it doesn't work, it will still operate normally. Battery will still be safe. 7.8 meter squared liquid cooling inside with 165 astronaut grade heat shield panels. And to protect against side collision, they have 3 layers on the top, 3 layers on the sides, and 8 layers of protective material on the bottom to prevent against scratches and collisions and that kind of stuff. They can cut power within 4 milliseconds, and they've done vigorous testing, including waterlogging, heat, low temperature, etc. Also, they've introduced the upside down battery cell. So even if it combusts, it pushes the flame downwards instead of into the car. And he talked about how this tech took 2 years of R&D with CATL to develop. And throughout everything for the battery itself, they have 132 patents applied and 65 granted. Next, they talked about the heat pump technology, which uses some next level refrigerant tech to heat the car, and works in as low as negative 20 degrees, which is really cool. And then they talked about hypercasting, 9,100 ton hypercasting. They launched a new material called Xiaomi Titan Metal, which is a special combination of lots of different elements. And this is apparently going to be very strong, but also malleable at when it's hot, and that's going to be used as the frame of the car. And there's a weight reduction by 70% by using hypercasting, 840 less welding spots. And people complain that if they put everything into one piece, then if you get into a collision, then the whole car is screwed. So he thought about that, and their team came up with a clever solution, which is to split it into 3 sections, which allows it for easy fixes. All right. Next, they talked about autonomous driving, and really mentioned how there's 0.1 meter precision clarity, and you can see how that looks, and it's very, very clear. Much higher resolution, and they can also remove noise like rain or snow, which is actually crazy as well, because rain and snow usually shows up as another obstacle, and then the car would normally try to avoid it or something. Also, the autonomous driving solution is mapless, and because he said with maps, if they build a new road, it's going to be very, very tough to always update the maps. So what they implemented is what most of the people in the industry are implementing: real live virtual world, and also helps programs routes against the actual situation. So if they see like, for example, the road being fixed, they're able to take a curve and go around it. Also, they showed off some very cool stuff. So here's a clip of the autonomous driving. Very, very awesome. Next, they talked about auto valet parking, which basically you don't even need to be in the car. You just click it and then get out the car, and then it'll drive in the parking lot and then park the car. Very nice. And the ultra tight parking in very close, narrow parking spots. So the whole entire system is called Xiaomi Pilot, and it is 508 tops. It uses 2 Orin X processors for 508 tops, 1 LiDAR system, 11 cameras, 3 millimeter wave radars, 12 parking sensors. So the LiDAR can see over 200 meters away, and it is a 128 line LiDAR. So next, they talked about interior, the smart cabin, which is pretty insane in my opinion. 16.1 inch 3K horizontal screen, and that is just a screen. Also, for the heads-up display, they have a 56-inch heads-up display. They have a rotating front dash, and it supports Xiaomi Pad, and it can connect it with ease. To power the whole entire infotainment inside the car, they will be using a Snapdragon 8295 chip, and Xiaomi's Hyper OS, which is their smartphone operating system, will be in this car as well. So it'll be very easy to use. You have individual cards that you can change the position of, and that shows different information, sort of like how Li Auto does it. Also, because of the chip, it is able to boot up in as little as 1.49 seconds, and it can OTA in as little as 3 minutes. Okay, and they talked about seamless Xiaomi phone integration, and you can display things on your phone, and with a swipe it goes onto the screen of the car, and the car also will have hundreds of apps available. And this is the next thing is very cool. They talked about car lot accessories with standardized outlets, so you can attach whatever accessories you want below the screen, underneath the storage compartment, beneath the screen, and behind the seats. So everyone can make their own accessories and try to get it approved. There's already 100 of them, and that's quite amazing. So you can attach all sorts of different things. The limit is your imagination. And one really killer thing is it also supports Apple CarPlay and iPad on the rear screens and AirPlay. So even Apple iOS users, they can buy a Xiaomi car and be able to have good integration with the car, which is really, really nice. Now, I think these are all really, really cool. The LiDAR isn't as good as NIO's LiDAR, and NIO has 4 Orin X, and Xiaomi's car only has 2. So obviously on that front, it's not as good as NIO's, but the motors, they have higher RPM than NIO's motors, and their integration. All right, NIO's also working on integration, but Xiaomi's integration is far superior, I think, with CarPlay, Apple CarPlay as well, and also the seamless integration with all the tablets and all that stuff. And I think infotainment-wise, Xiaomi takes the win here. But this car isn't really competing against NIO, and I think for the price, they're not. You don't get battery swap obviously with this car, but for the price, it's definitely going to be competing with the sub-brand car. So I think this car is going to do fairly well, and hopefully they do well. All right, I hope they're successful, but I hope NIO sub-brand does even better, because NIO sub-brand will definitely have battery swap and all the cool stuff. So it's all about one-upping the other guy in terms of competition. So seeing that this is what Xiaomi came up with, I am sure NIO is thinking about a way to one-up all of this, make their car at that same price point but better spec than the Xiaomi car. And if they do that, then of course their car is going to sell much better than the competitors. So that's my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, stay safe, stay healthy. Peace out.